She never meant to want him that much. But the night Lila stood outside his apartment, drenched in rain and shame, she realized something in her had snapped. The kind of snap that doesn't make noise, just silence. A hollow echo of who she used to be. He hadn't answered her messages for 2 days. 2 days of aching silence. 2 days of staring at the glowing screen like it owed her a heartbeat. Lila once believed she was strong, emotionally intelligent, in control. But love, or whatever this was, had turned into something darker. Something closer to obsession. She wasn't always like this. At work, she was the calm one. The one people trusted with secrets and late-night fears. But now, as she stood outside a man's apartment waiting for a sign of attention, her reflection in the glass door looked like a stranger's. Pale, desperate, and dangerously close to breaking. Her therapist had warned her about the feedback loop of desire. The more you want something, Dr. Keaton said, the more power you give it to destroy you. Back then, Lila laughed. Now she understood. She knocked once more softly this time, like a plea. No answer, just the sound of her own breath fogging the glass. Then, something shifted behind the curtain. A shadow, movement. Hope flared and then faded as quickly as it came. He was home, but he wasn't coming to the door. A wave of humiliation swept over her, raw and acidic. She stepped back, heart pounding. Why was she doing this? Why couldn't she just stop caring? That night, Lila drove home in silence, the city lights blurring into ribbons of guilt. Every red light felt like judgment. Every reflection in the windshield whispered one question: who are you becoming? In her apartment, she poured a glass of wine and stared at her phone again. Don't text him. The voice in her head sounded rational, stern, even. But her thumb hovered anyway. She typed, I just want to talk. Please. Then deleted it. Then typed it again. By 3 a.m. She was crying quietly, not from sadness, but from exhaustion. The human heart, she realized, doesn't break suddenly. It erodes slowly, piece by piece, under the weight of wanting too much. In the morning, she woke up hollow. No messages. No closure. Just silence. She forced herself to go to work, hiding behind makeup and polite smiles. But something about her energy drew attention. Her colleague Mia leaned over at lunch and said, You okay? You look different. Different. That word stuck with her. At home that evening, Lila stared into the mirror again. Different wasn't wrong. Her eyes looked darker, her lips tighter. There was a sadness beneath her skin she couldn't wash away. Dr. Keaton's words replayed in her mind. Sometimes, when you want something too much, your brain mistakes obsession for meaning. Was that what this was? Meaning, or madness disguised as longing? To distract herself, Lila scrolled through social media. Every post from happy couples felt like a blade twisting deeper. Everyone else seemed to have what she was begging for: love that didn't need to be chased. By midnight, she deleted his number, then restored it an hour later. Her mind was a battlefield of logic and longing. And then, the unexpected happened. Her phone vibrated. His name flashed. A message. Hey, can't we talk tomorrow? Her heart surged. Just like that, the darkness lifted. Her brain flooded with dopamine, the same way addicts light up at the sight of their fix. She smiled, cried, and whispered, finally. But deep down, something inside her trembled. Why did it take her breaking down for him to reach out? Why did she feel relief instead of anger? The next day, they met at a cafe. He looked calm, charming, detached. She tried to look the same, but her hands trembled around the cup. He spoke casually, as if nothing had happened. I just needed space. You were intense. Lila froze. The words hit harder than she expected. Intense. That was code for too much. She wanted to defend herself, to explain, but she didn't. because deep inside, she knew he was right. Her desire had turned into hunger, and hunger had made her dangerous to herself. That night, she didn't cry. She just sat in silence, realizing that the thing she wanted most had begun to destroy her the moment she tried to possess it. Her mind whispered one truth she couldn't unhear. When you stop wanting it, that's when it finally comes to you. But Lila wasn't there yet. Not even close. Somewhere inside her, a darker part had just woken up and it wanted control. Lila hadn't cried in 3 days. That, she decided, was progress. But healing didn't look the way she imagined. It wasn't quiet acceptance or strength, it was emptiness. A cold, colorless kind of peace that made her wonder if she had simply stopped feeling. Every morning, she followed a routine like a soldier in a war she no longer believed in. Wake up, coffee, work, smile, sleep, repeat. Her therapist, Dr. Keaton, called it emotional numbing, a defense mechanism. But to Lila, it felt more like punishment. She had stopped texting him after that cafe meeting. He hadn't reached out either. The silence was mutual now, and that made it worse. Because at least before, she could tell herself she was the one fighting for something. Now, there was nothing left to fight for. Still, she couldn't delete his photos. They sat in a hidden folder like ghosts she wasn't ready to bury. Every time she thought about removing them, her chest tightened. It wasn't love anymore. It was memory addiction. One night, she sat on her balcony, watching the city breathe beneath her. Her phone buzzed a message from Mia. Wine night tomorrow? You need to get out of that head of yours. Lila smiled weakly. Mia was one of the few people who hadn't judged her. But even with friends, she often felt like a ghost pretending to be human. The next evening, the two sat in Mia's small apartment, surrounded by fairy lights and empty bottles. So, Mia began carefully, you ever think maybe you were chasing him to fill something else? Lila blinked. Something else? Yeah, like maybe it wasn't him you wanted. Maybe it was control or validation. Lila didn't answer, because deep down, she knew Mia was right. Desire wasn't just about love, it was about feeling powerful. And losing him had stripped that illusion away. After Mia fell asleep, Lila walked home alone through quiet streets. The city felt strange that night, almost sentient, like it was watching her. She thought about all the times she'd begged for love, for closure, for attention. Every act of wanting had cost her something, her dignity, her sleep, her peace. What if the real test wasn't about getting what you want, she thought, but learning to survive without it? That question haunted her for days. At work, she found herself noticing patterns. How people talked, how they sought approval in small ways. Compliments, glances, smiles. Everyone wanted something. Even those who claimed they didn't. It was the same hunger, just disguised. Dr. Keaton noticed her silence during their next session. You're thinking deeply, he said. What's on your mind? Lila hesitated. I realized desire makes us puppets. The more we chase something, the more we lose control. He nodded. That's an important realization. The paradox of desire is that surrender brings more freedom than pursuit. She laughed bitterly. So, what? We're supposed to stop wanting anything. Not stop wanting, he said softly, but want wisely. Some desires feed you. Others consume you. That night, those words echoed in her dreams. She saw herself in a dark forest, running after a light that kept moving farther away. No matter how fast she ran, the light stayed just out of reach. And when she finally stopped chasing it, she realized it was following her. Lila woke up shaking. The dream felt too real, too meaningful. She decided to test something. For the next week, she wouldn't check his social media. She wouldn't reread old messages. She would treat indifference like a ritual. The first few days were torture. Her brain craved that hit of dopamine, that illusion of connection. But slowly, something inside her began to shift. She started painting again, a hobby she'd abandoned long ago. She began journaling, not about him, but about herself, what she liked, what she feared, what she still wanted from life. And for the first time in months, her thoughts didn't orbit around someone else. One evening, as she sat sketching, her phone buzzed. His name. Again. Her hand froze. "Hey, it's been a while. Miss you." The words that once would have set her heart racing now felt hollow. She stared at the message, waiting for emotion to surface, but there was none. Just quiet understanding. She typed back slowly, "I don't think I miss you anymore." Then deleted it. Then simply blocked him. It wasn't revenge. It was closure. Lila set her phone down and whispered to herself, "Finally." But even as she said it, a strange chill crept through her chest. Not sadness, not regret, but something unfamiliar. Freedom. And yet, freedom always comes with a price. Because when the noise of longing fades, the silence that follows can be deafening. As she turned off the lights, she caught her reflection in the window, steady, calm, but somehow darker. Letting go had changed her, not into who she was before, but into someone new. Someone she didn't quite recognize yet. The mind, she realized, doesn't heal, it transforms. And sometimes, that transformation carries its own shadow. Lila thought she'd won. For weeks, she told herself she was free. No more messages, no more ache, no more sleepless nights. But freedom, she learned, can be deceptive. Because even when you silence desire, its shadow lingers in places you can't see. She had started painting again, colors bleeding across canvas like wounds learning to close. Her apartment smelled of turpentine and new beginnings. Every brushstroke felt like reclaiming a part of herself she'd lost, chasing someone who never truly saw her. But one evening, while she worked on a self-portrait, she noticed something strange. Her hand moved differently. The colors she chose, charcoal black, deep crimson, storm gray, weren't what she planned. She wasn't painting healing. She was painting anger. And in the reflection of the drying paint, the woman staring back didn't look like her. She looked sharper, colder, almost dangerous. At first, Lila laughed it off. But the feeling didn't fade. She found herself thinking about him again, not with longing, but curiosity. Why had she wanted him so badly? What part of her had needed that chaos? Dr. Keaton called it the shadow self, the part of our psyche that thrives on what we deny. "You've suppressed your desire," he said during their next session. "But suppression doesn't erase, it transforms. Now, your shadow wants attention." Lila frowned. "So, what am I supposed to do? Talk to it?" He smiled softly. "Maybe you should listen." That night, she dreamed again. The same dark forest. But this time, the light was gone. Instead, a woman stood where the light once burned her exact reflection, except her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Lila tried to speak, but her double smiled first. "You thought letting go made you pure. It just made me stronger." She woke up gasping. Sweat soaked her sheets. The dream clung to her skin like a memory she didn't choose. For days, she couldn't shake it. She caught glimpses of herself in mirrors and windows, swearing she saw that same cold expression flash back. Maybe it was stress. Or maybe, she thought, it was something deeper, an awakening. At work, her colleagues began to notice subtle changes. She was quieter, sharper, less tolerant of small talk. When someone interrupted her during a meeting, she cut them off with a calm, cutting smile. She didn't apologize, it felt. Good. The part of her that once begged for love now demanded respect. And for the first time, people listened. But power is a seductive thing. One night, When a man at a bar tried to flirt with her, she didn't shy away. She watched him stumble through compliments, his confidence fading under her calm stare. She could feel his nerves tightening, the same way she once felt under someone else's indifference, and she realized control felt intoxicating. When she went home, she painted again. This time, the figure on her canvas wasn't her. It was him, the man who once ignored her. Only in this painting, his eyes were hollow, and her hands were the ones holding his face still. Her brush trembled. What was she doing? The next day, she avoided the painting, but it drew her like a secret. Each time she looked at it, something inside her whispered, he deserved it. The voice grew louder over the week. Not external, internal. Hers. Dr. Keaton noticed the change. You seem more confident lately, he said cautiously. Lila smiled. Confidence isn't the right word. It's clarity. And what have you become clear about? That people only value what they can have, she said. And I'm done being the one who begs. He hesitated. Be careful, Lila. When we stop wanting love, sometimes we start wanting power instead. That's still desire, it's just wearing a darker mask. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat in front of the painting again, staring into the hollow eyes she'd created. Her mind whispered, he made you powerless. Now you make him invisible. And in that moment, she did something impulsive. She tore the painting apart, ripped it until only fragments remained. But as the torn pieces scattered, she noticed something chilling. Her own reflection in the broken glass looked almost pleased. The next morning, she deleted every old photo, message, and memory of him. Not because she wanted peace, because she wanted erasure in the silence that followed. She felt something she hadn't felt in months: exhilaration. But it wasn't the peace of moving on. It was the rush of becoming someone else entirely. As she stood by her window, dawn creeping through the blinds, Lila whispered, maybe the real me was never the one who wanted. Maybe she was the one who watched. And somewhere deep in her mind, that other voice, the shadow, laughed softly in agreement. Freedom, after all, was never about letting go. It was about reclaiming the parts of yourself that were too dark to love in daylight.